Why was GTA the Trilogy, the definitive edition, such a flop, and why didn't Rockstar make a proper remake, but just a remaster? Let's start from the beginning. The game was announced with much fanfare, as you'd expect from a franchise as iconic as GTA. Rockstar Games dropped the announcement trailer on their official YouTube channel in October 2021, and it was such an unexpected move from the studio. I still remember how shocked I was while seeing the notification about that video on my YouTube app. The trailer showcased the remastered versions of 3 classic titles, GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, all bundled into one package. For me, the initial reaction to the announcement trailer was a mix of nostalgia and excitement. I was really thrilled to revisit the cities and characters I grew up with, now with enhanced graphics and modernized gameplay. However, while watching the trailer, I felt a bit underwhelmed. It looked like some of the essence of the original games had been lost. Many of us expected more than just a graphical upgrade, perhaps a complete overhaul or a reimagining of these classic games, to be on par with recent Rockstar Games releases like Red Dead Redemption 2 and Grand Theft Auto 5. The trailer looked good, but for some, including me, it didn't quite hit the high expectations they had for a remaster of such beloved titles. The definitive edition was released a few weeks later, and it was available on a wide range of platforms, including PS4 and 5, Xbox One and Series, Nintendo Switch, and PC. Now this is where things started to go downhill. The performance of the game was, to put it mildly, disappointing. Following the release, the reaction from the gaming community was largely negative. Players were frustrated with the myriad of technical issues plaguing the game. The excitement and nostalgia quickly turned into disappointment. This is why the remaster of the Trilogy is often considered a complete failure. It failed to deliver a smooth, enjoyable gaming experience that players expected from a remaster of such iconic titles. The problems were numerous and varied, ranging from graphical glitches to performance issues. For instance, the character models in the game were widely criticized. They were not just different from the original games, but they were also poorly designed and executed. The remodeling process made with AI seemed to have gone terribly wrong, leading to bizarre mistakes and inconsistencies in the game's visuals. The game also suffered from severe frame rate issues, making the gameplay experience far from smooth. GTA 3 was the worst offender in this regard, but all the games in the trilogy had their share of performance problems. The frame rate drops were constant and significantly affected the gameplay experience. The Nintendo Switch version of the game was particularly problematic. Despite the fact that the original games were from the early to mid-2000s, the Switch versions of the remasters were plagued with issues such as texture tearing and slideshow quality frame rates. These were some of the worst Switch ports ever seen, especially considering the popularity of the franchise and the resources available to make these ports work. The PC version of the game was so problematic that Rockstar had to pull it from the platform. There were also reports of data miners discovering files in the game that were not intended to be included in the retail release. Moreover, many missions and minigames in the trilogy were broken or not working as intended. For example, some of the rhythm-based missions and activities in San Andreas suffered from serious input lag, and the burglary side missions often resulted in the player getting stuck in the environment. The game's audio design was another area of concern. There were issues with the sound effects, and some audio files seemed to be missing. The audio in the game seemed to be strangely compressed, negatively impacting the overall quality. The Trilogy remaster was developed by Grove Street Games, a studio that had previously worked on mobile ports of classic GTA titles. Rockstar Games, the original developers of the Trilogy, oversaw the project, but did not directly work on the remaster. This decision raised some eyebrows as fans wondered why Rockstar, with their vast resources and experience, didn't handle the remaster themselves. Grove Street Games, originally formed in 2007 under the name War Drum Studios, has a history of adapting Rockstar's games, with their specialty being porting games. They have released a handful of IPs, including Orlux, and have been responsible for a number of Grand Theft Auto ports and spin-offs. Their long partnership with Rockstar has led to them working on several projects, including mobile versions of GTA 3, Vice City's 10th Anniversary Edition, and San Andreas. However, it's worth noting that not all of their previous works were well received. The Grove Street version of San Andreas, which was also ported to PlayStation 3 and Xbox, was poorly received by fans. This version of the game has even gained notoriety amongst Grand Theft Auto fans as one of the worst ports of the series. The decision to have Grove Street Games work on the definitive edition could be attributed to their long-standing relationship with Rockstar and their experience in porting games. But given the issues with the definitive edition and the poor reception of some of their previous ports, it's clear that the studio faced significant challenges in remastering the trilogy. I still don't understand why they didn't just let Rockstar know that they aren't able to handle such a big project. For the Definitive Edition, Grove Street Games used the Unreal Engine 4 to port these classic games to current and last-gen consoles, and they are also preparing for a later mobile release. It's interesting because the Trilogy Defective Edition are the only GTA games released on this engine. Updates for the game were indeed rare, which only added to the frustration. We were left dealing with the same bugs and glitches for a long time, with no clear communication from the developers about when these issues would be addressed. This lack of transparency and slow response time further soured the community's perception of the remaster. Since the release of the Definitive Edition, there have been several updates to address the numerous issues. The first update, version 1.01, was released shortly after the game's launch, but no official notes were released detailing what it fixed. This was followed by updates 1.02, 03, and 04, which aimed to address various issues, glitches, and exploits reported by the community or found by Rockstar Games themselves. The latest update, version 1.04.5, was released on October 18, 2022. This update aimed to improve game performance across all platforms and graphic modes, fix several issues when attempting to retry a mission from the last checkpoint, and address a number of collision and texture art issues. However, despite these updates, many players still report ongoing issues with the game. As for who worked on these updates, it's not entirely clear. Grove Street Games was the primary developer for the Definitive Edition, but Rockstar Games has been involved in the project as well. It's possible that both studios worked on the updates, but the specifics have not been publicly disclosed. However, since October last year, there have been rumors that Grove Street Games is no longer working with Rockstar, and that Rockstar is now handling the updates and fixes themselves. I thought this could potentially lead to more frequent and effective updates in the future, but it didn't really happen. The modding community, a significant part of the GTA fanbase, largely stuck with the classic games instead of moving to the Definitive Edition. There are a few reasons for that. Firstly, the technical issues and poor performance of the remaster made it less appealing for modders. Secondly, the classic games have a well-established modding scene with a vast array of mods available. Starting from scratch with the remaster, which also had restrictions on modding, didn't seem worth it for many. In the months leading up to the release of the Definitive Edition, Rockstar and Take-Two Interactive began targeting and removing mods related to the classic PS2 games, including popular mods like Vice Cry, which ported Vice City to the GTA 5 engine. This move was seen by many as an attempt to clear the runway for their own official remakes. However, the companies never confirmed why any of the mods or fan projects were sent DMCA takedowns or lawsuits. This hostile approach towards the modding community led to a chilling effect, with many modders removing old content or shutting down mods out of fear of legal threats from Take-Two. This was a significant blow to the modding community, which had spent years keeping the classic GTA games playable and popular. Moreover, the decision to remove the original GTA games from console and PC storefronts further alienated the modding community. With the original games no longer available and the remasters plagued with issues, many in the community were left hoping that modders might once again save the day. However, after the legal issues and takedowns over the past year, many modders were understandably reluctant to invest their time and effort into fixing the remasters. The shift from the renderware engine used in the original games to the Unreal Engine 4 in the Definitive Edition also posed a significant challenge for modders. Mods created for the original games could not be easily converted to the new engine, requiring a significant amount of work to adapt them for the remaster. As for the current state of the game, while many of the initial glitches and bugs have been fixed, there are still reports of issues. It's not as bad as it was at launch, but it's far from perfect. The game still lacks the polish and stability that you'd expect from a remaster of such iconic titles. Now, should Rockstar Games have made a remake instead of a remaster? That's a question many fans have asked. A remake would have allowed for a complete overhaul of the games, with modern gameplay mechanics, updated storylines, and perhaps even new content. It would have required more work and resources, but many believe that the trilogy deserved that level of effort. So how could a remake be done? Well, I think using their Rage game engine instead of the Unreal Engine would be a way better idea. However, a remake of this scale is unlikely to happen. Rockstar Games is known for their focus on new titles, and a complete remake of the trilogy would be a massive undertaking that could divert resources from their other projects. I'm not saying it's impossible for it to happen, but definitely not in the near future. Rockstar is currently focused on finishing GTA 6, and there are many pieces of information surfacing about the upcoming Red Dead Redemption remaster, and even a remaster of GTA 4. After the trilogy turned out to be a flop, the studio will need a lot more time to rethink their decisions and start working on this project again, this time with serious commitment. I'm curious, what do you think about the trilogy? Did you even play the Definitive Edition at all? Did you have any issues with these games? Or are you among the lucky ones who managed to play through all of them without any problems? Let me know in the comments below. And before we wrap up, I want to take a moment to shout out all my amazing patrons. With your generous support, this channel keeps going and I'm really thankful for that. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. If so, please give it a like, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell to be updated about my next videos. As always, thanks for watching till the end. Have a great day everyone, and see you in the next one.